Chosen one, God prophesized your life. Don't go looking for jobs. Do this instead. Warning: what you're about to discover will shatter everything you thought you knew about work, purpose, and divine calling. If you're watching this right now, your higher self has guided you here. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention. Have you ever felt completely drained at the mere thought of applying for another job? Not because you lack ambition, but because something deep within your soul is screaming that you were made for something far greater? Do you sense an invisible force resisting every attempt you make to fit into the world's conventional systems? Listen closely. If you've been questioning why nothing in the traditional work world feels right, if you've been labeled as unmotivated or inconsistent, this message will change everything. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are being redirected by divine forces beyond human comprehension. Attention! This revelation is not for everyone. Only those with the spiritual frequency to receive it will feel the truth resonating in their core right now. You are a chosen one. And chosen ones were never designed to chase employment like the masses. You were sent to this realm as an awakener, a carrier of sacred assignments, a living reminder that existence transcends the material illusions surrounding us. Perhaps you've noticed a peculiar pattern. Every time you've attempted to walk the path others deemed secure and responsible, something within you completely shut down. You may have condemned yourself, believing you were undisciplined or ungrateful. But the reality runs far deeper than surface-level judgment. You were never constructed to pursue jobs. You were architected to embody divine purpose. From your first breath, societal programming began its relentless conditioning. The script was always the same: education, credentials, applications, competition, climbing corporate hierarchies, eventual retirement. Yet something fundamental always felt misaligned with this rhythm. While others found motivation in promotions and status, you were consumed by questions of meaning and significance. While others contentedly molded themselves into predetermined roles, you were haunted by an unnamed calling that wouldn't release its grip on your consciousness. This isn't dysfunction. This is divine dissonance. This is your spirit categorically rejecting the world's expectations. Chosen ones cannot flourish in environments that suffocate their gifts. You may have worked traditional jobs before. Perhaps you're trapped in one currently, but in the depths of your being, you understand that's not your ultimate destination. That persistent sensation of something more isn't fantasy or greed. It's heaven itself reminding you of your assignment. It's the divine showing you that your existence was never meant to be defined by job titles, but by the transformative light you carry and release into this world. Employment structures were created to organize labor, but your spirit wasn't dispatched here to labor in monotonous routine. You were sent to construct new realities, to awaken dormant consciousness, and to shift entire atmospheres through your mere presence. The architecture of traditional employment often feels like imprisonment for chosen ones, confined to desks, subjected to micromanagement, pursuing goals utterly disconnected from eternal significance. It depletes you, not because you're entitled, but because your soul recognizes that your energy is sacred currency, and your time is a holy offering to forces beyond this dimension. Yet you've likely been condemned for this awareness. They've accused you of insufficient effort or premature abandonment, but they cannot comprehend your reality. What appears as inconsistency externally is often spiritual resistance internally. You cannot remain where your soul is suffocating. You cannot pretend to care about systems specifically designed to distract chosen ones from their authentic work. Your authentic work begins where your obedience begins. The world will never acknowledge this truth because obedience doesn't always appear productive initially. It manifests as silence, as rest, as creating something currently invisible, as initiating projects that don't generate immediate financial returns. But what they label as recklessness Heaven recognizes as alignment, and that is the path you've been summoned to walk. You weren't created to hustle your way toward survival. You were anointed to transform how others survive. You weren't created to fill positions. You were born to create space where others discover their truth. You weren't created to be exploited. You were created to lead, to heal, to reveal, to construct something that carries divine presence into territories traditional institutions cannot penetrate. When you chase jobs, you inevitably shrink your purpose to accommodate someone else's agenda. But when you chase obedience, you begin expanding your existence to carry the full magnitude of your assignment. That's when synchronicities begin emerging. That's when provision follows naturally. That's when doors open that no resume could ever unlock. So no, you're not unmotivated. You're not confused. You're not ungrateful. You are a chosen one. And chosen ones don't seek work the way this world does. They walk into assignments that were patiently awaiting their affirmative response. They rise into callings that defy conventional logic. They follow the divine voice over human approval. And they live lives that ignite transformation in others without conscious effort. If this message is resonating in your spirit right now, take a moment to subscribe to this channel and activate notifications. Share this with someone else who's been trapped in confusion about their purpose. This community is rising together. That's why you've never experienced satisfaction in traditional employment, because satisfaction was never the objective. Transformation was. You were meant to disrupt outdated systems, to rebuild consciousness, to summon others from their spiritual slumber. Stop attempting to fit where you were never meant to remain. You were born to lead from a place no human institution can validate. Heaven has already granted you approval. Now it's time to walk accordingly. How many times have people told you that you're wasting your potential? That your efforts are insufficient? That you're lazy? You've probably heard this from parents, educators, even friends, people who genuinely care but fundamentally misunderstand your nature. Let me speak directly to your spirit. What the world labels as laziness is often something profoundly sacred. It's divine resistance. You weren't created to respond like others do. That heaviness you experience when attempting what everyone else does isn't weakness. It's heaven resisting the world's expectations on your behalf. It's the divine declaring, "Not here, not this, not for you." While others transition between jobs effortlessly, something within you contracts. Your body becomes exhausted. Your soul withdraws. Your energy completely shuts down. This isn't because you lack discipline. It's because you were never meant to construct someone else's vision at the expense of your own calling. The world measures your worth by busyness, perceived productivity, income generation. But heaven's measurement operates differently. It concerns obedience, not activity. Alignment, not achievement. You could be doing less in worldly eyes while accomplishing more in the spiritual realm because you're operating from purpose, not pressure. Most people cannot comprehend this distinction. They cannot perceive your spiritual assignment, so they judge your human actions. Laziness is terminology they employ when they cannot grasp your blueprint. But you're not lazy. You're being retrained. You're undergoing a process. You're being emptied of obsolete programming to make room for divine instruction. Sometimes that process manifests as stillness, as silence, as stepping away from chaos so you can hear the divine more clearly. But in a world addicted to hustle culture, stillness appears as failure. Let me tell you something critical. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You are chosen by the divine. That alone distinguishes you. The fact that you cannot function like the masses is not your flaw. It's your confirmation. You're not like them because you're not meant to live like them. Your mind is configured to receive divine downloads. Your heart is constructed to carry sacred burdens. Your life is designed to disrupt norms, not conform to them. When you feel yourself resisting the grind, pause and question, is this disobedience or divine resistance? More often than not, it's your spirit protecting you from misalignment. Because the wrong affirmative can delay the right calling. The wrong opportunity can contaminate your assignment. The wrong job can diminish the very light the divine is cultivating within you. Chosen ones don't flourish under human-constructed systems. They move optimally when following divine flow. That flow isn't always rapid. It isn't always impressive, but it's always correct. You might lack traditional titles currently. You might not have income comparable to others, but you possess something they cannot fabricate. You have heaven's hand upon your existence, and that alone will transport you further than any resume or reference ever could. This season you're experiencing might feel bewildering. You might awaken some days questioning what you're doing with your life. But I promise you, if you're surrendering to divine direction, even in the quiet, you are performing holy work. You are being set apart. You are being prepared. The delay is not denial. The resistance is not rejection. It's redirection. You are not meant to move solely for motion's sake. You're meant to move when the Spirit moves you. That's how chosen ones rise, not by chasing success, but by obeying the unseen rhythm of the divine. Comment 333. If you know this message was meant specifically for you. That rhythm doesn't always make logical sense, but it always makes purpose. And if you've been feeling the pull to rest, to slow down, to realign, don't fight it. It might be the divine preserving you for something exponentially greater. The next time someone questions your pace or makes you feel like you're falling behind, remember this. You are not lazy. You are being led. Let them talk. Let them assume. While they chase what the world offers, you're being positioned for what heaven has prepared. Stay in divine resistance. Your assignment is too sacred to be rushed. The divine didn't send you here empty-handed. Before you drew your first breath, a gift was placed inside you. Not a random talent, not a hobby, a divine tool crafted by heaven itself. And that gift is not merely something you possess. It is your assignment. You've been searching for your purpose in positions, in people, in places. But the message from the divine is crystalline. Stop looking outward. Start looking inward. Your gift is not something supplementary. It's the central element. Countless chosen ones exist in confusion because they've been conditioned to downplay what comes naturally to them. You've probably dismissed your abilities because they felt too effortless or too obvious. You've assumed authentic work must be difficult and unpleasant. But the divine doesn't operate through struggle. It flows through grace. That ease you experience when you speak, create, guide, write, heal, build, or lead. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. That's the divine declaring, "This is what I gave you to give to the world." The world taught you to hide it, told you to be realistic, said your gift wasn't sufficient to sustain you. But the divine message overrides all of that. What you carry inside you is not for entertainment or ego. It's for impact. Your gift was meant to awaken people, to heal broken places, to bring clarity where confusion reigns, to shine light in territories darkened by hopelessness. The adversary knew this too, which is why he attacked your confidence, why you've battled self-doubt, why you've been silenced in rooms where your voice carried weight. But the season of shrinking has ended. You are not being called to chase jobs. You are being called to activate your divine gift. Heaven is not hiring employees. It's sending out messengers, healers, prophets, creatives, teachers, builders of spiritual infrastructure. You may not have a business card or a degree that validates it, but if the divine gave you a gift, that's all the proof you need. That gift is your calling card. Your life's work flows from it. Your provision will be attached to it. Your impact will be birthed through it. Here's the truth most won't tell you. If you don't honor the gift, it becomes a burden. That's why you felt anxious, restless, frustrated. It's not depression. It's misused purpose. The gift is too powerful to stay buried. It demands expression. It aches to be used. Not for applause, but for kingdom movement. The longer you avoid it, the louder the resistance becomes. You don't need to figure out every step. You need to start with what's already in your hand. That vision, that voice, that burning idea, that burden for people hurting the way you once were. That's the gift trying to emerge. It's not a random urge. It's divine prompting. It's heaven nudging you to stop hiding behind responsibilities and excuses, and finally walk in what you were born to do. Listen to me closely. Your gift is not too small. It's not too late. You haven't missed it. There's no expiration date on a divine assignment. It doesn't matter your age. Doesn't matter what you've lost. Doesn't matter what mistakes you've made. The divine message remains unchanged. Use what I gave you. That's where your power resides. That's where your provision resides. That's where your peace resides. Chosen one, don't underestimate what's been deposited inside you. You don't need to become someone else to walk in purpose. You only need to become obedient to the original design. You are not here to blend in. You're here to stand out. And your gift is what makes that possible. It's not prideful to walk in your power. It's faithful. It's responsible. It's sacred. Your job isn't to find a job. Your job is to find flow, to listen, to trust the divine voice guiding you back to yourself. From that place, you will move differently, speak differently, live differently. And those who need what you carry will find you. You won't have to beg for opportunities. When you honor the gift, the assignment will reveal itself. Comment 666 if something in your spirit is leaping right now. Let me know you're waking up to what's already inside you. You were chosen by the divine not to copy others, not to chase titles, but to reveal heaven through the very thing placed inside your soul. That gift is the assignment. Walk in it. Something massive is shifting in the spiritual realm. And if you've been feeling strange lately, that's why. You're not imagining it. You're not broken. You're being activated. What's being activated in you has nothing to do with chasing survival and everything to do with building the new. The old economy is collapsing for you. The grind, the hustle, the scarcity mindset, the desperate job searches, those doors aren't opening because they were never meant to. Because the divine is launching chosen ones into a new economy. A spiritual economy based on purpose, presence, and power. This isn't about money the way the world defines it. This is about divine flow, provision that follows obedience, resources that are attracted by alignment, not effort. For so long, you've been taught that if you don't work for someone else, you won't survive. But now, you're being shown that your calling isn't tied to a paycheck. It's tied to impact. And where there's impact, there's provision. Where there's alignment, there's access. This new economy is built by chosen ones, by people who no longer fit inside the boxes the world created. This economy doesn't ask you to compromise your soul. It doesn't ask you to pretend you're something you're not. It invites you to bring your full self, your full gift, your full truth. And it pays in peace, power, and prosperity that doesn't require your exhaustion. You're not being lazy by leaving the old system. You're being summoned into a higher one. Look around. Spirit-led entrepreneurs are rising. Prophetic voices are finding platforms. Healing hands are opening practices. Writers are being called to publish words that set captives free. Artists are awakening souls. Mentors, coaches, teachers, seers. People like you are realizing they were never meant to beg for jobs. They were meant to build spaces where heaven can be seen and felt through their gifts. That discomfort you've been feeling with your old work life, it's not a mistake. It's a signal. It's the divine telling you that what used to work is no longer acceptable. The assignment has changed, and your provision, your peace, your next elevation, it's all connected to what you've been carrying in silence. It's time to stop hiding it. The new economy needs you fully visible, fully activated. This isn't about quitting your job overnight. This is about listening, aligning, beginning, taking steps to offer your gift to the world with intention. It might start small. A few people, a few conversations, a few pieces of content. But what's small in your hands can become supernatural in the divine's hands. You just need to say yes. The yes is the currency that moves things in the spirit. Once you say yes to the assignment, heaven begins to fund what you're building. You won't need to compete. You won't need to hustle like you used to. In this economy, presence is power. Obedience is strategy. Flow is sustainability. And trust is the investment. Chosen ones are not here to fight for scraps. You are here to distribute spiritual wealth, clarity, peace, healing, awakening. And the divine is showing you now how to do it in a way that sustains you while transforming others. Comment 777 if you feel something in you being stirred. If you know this message is pulling on your spirit. You're not imagining the shift. You're part of it. The rise of the chosen is not just a phrase. It's a movement. A new spiritual economy is being built, and you are one of its architects. The world may not understand it, but heaven has already approved it. It's time to build. You've been taught to chase money, to run after stability, to measure your value by your income. But let me tell you something that will shift your entire perspective. Divine provision doesn't follow effort. It follows purpose. When you walk in your divinely assigned path, provision begins to flow. Not because you worked harder than everyone else, but because heaven is backing what you were born to do. The world system says, get a job to survive. The divine says, step into your calling and I will provide. This is not distant theory. This is spiritual law. Chosen ones have never thrived chasing paychecks. It's why you've always felt drained doing what others celebrate. It's why no matter how good the job looked on paper, your soul felt like it was suffocating. Because you were never meant to live off wages. You were meant to live off assignment. You're not like everyone else, and your provision won't come like it does for everyone else. For you, doors don't open just because you apply. They open when you obey. You can send out 100 resumes and get nothing. But say yes to the thing the divine whispered to you in private. And suddenly, things begin to align. Resources come. People show up. Favor appears. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. The divine funds assignments, not your fears. Not your fallback plans. Not the backup options you created when you didn't trust your gift. The divine funds what is called. And the reason some things haven't been working is because you've been trying to finance something heaven never authorized. But the moment you step into what you were truly created for, even if it's scary, even if it looks uncertain, provision will begin to flow. I know what you're thinking. But how will I live? What about bills? What about responsibilities? Those are valid questions. But here's the divine truth. When you prioritize purpose, the divine prioritizes your needs. The divine is not a careless father. The divine doesn't call you into something and then leave you to figure it out alone. If you're walking in what you were called to, you are entitled to supernatural provision. Period. You might not see all of it at once. Sometimes the divine provides in portions to build your trust. Sometimes the vision stretches you so that your faith muscles grow. But lack is not your destiny. Scarcity is not your inheritance. You are not a beggar. You are a chosen vessel. And as long as you are pouring out what was put inside you, the divine will keep pouring into you everything you need. Many of you have been stuck in survival mode, doing whatever you can just to get by. But purpose doesn't just get you by. Purpose puts you in overflow. Maybe not overnight, but eventually. Because purpose produces something that jobs never will. Divine momentum. When you start living from that place, the way you see life changes. You no longer wait for opportunities. You create from your spirit, and opportunities begin to find you. Let's be real. There's a cost to purpose. You might lose comfort. You might be misunderstood. You might walk away from what looks secure. But in return, you gain provision that never runs out because it's not coming from humans. It's coming from the divine. You begin to live off of insight, favor, peace, clarity, and timely doors that no effort could have opened. This is why the world won't understand your path. They won't get why you left the job, why you turned down the offer, why you're choosing to build something from your spirit instead of chasing what everyone else is chasing. But you don't need their approval when you have heaven's backing. Let them mock. Let them question. You're not being irresponsible. You're being led. Every time you honor the calling, provision shows up. Sometimes it looks like a person sent to help. Sometimes it's an unexpected financial breakthrough. Sometimes it's the strength to keep going when everything around you looks impossible. But it always comes. Why? Because you said yes. And that yes unlocked resources that were waiting for your obedience. So stop trying to figure everything out before you move. Start moving and let the divine meet you on the way. Walk toward your purpose like it's already funded. Because in the spirit, it is. You won't lack when you're aligned. You won't crumble when you're in calling. You were chosen not to just survive, but to be a walking example of what divine provision looks like in human form. Comment 999 below if this message has spoken directly to your spirit. Speak it into the atmosphere. Provision will follow my purpose. Say it aloud. Believe it and walk like it's already done. Because if you walk in purpose, it already is. What if I told you that the next step in your journey isn't about learning something new? It's about unlearning what you were never supposed to believe in the first place. The path to your divine assignment doesn't begin with a course, a degree, or a job. It begins with releasing the lies you were taught by a world that was never designed for your kind. Before heaven can build through you, it must first tear down everything false that's been built in you. You've been conditioned since childhood to think in terms of control, competition, and survival. That your worth comes from how hard you grind. That your identity is tied to a job title. That stability is more valuable than vision. But none of those ideas came from the divine. They came from a system that needs you to be useful, but not powerful. Efficient, but not awakened. Busy, but not aligned. And now heaven is confronting all of it. That tension you feel, that restlessness that won't go away no matter how much you try to ignore it, that's the spiritual friction between the world's script and heaven's blueprint. One tells you to get in line. The other tells you to rise and lead. One says play it safe. The other says walk by faith. One keeps you bound by fear. The other calls you to build by vision, and you can't carry both. To receive the fullness of heaven's instruction, you must let go of the world's voice. Unlearning is a painful process. It feels like confusion at first because everything that was once familiar begins to collapse. But this collapse is holy. It's sacred. It's necessary. Because the divine will never pour fresh purpose into a mind still married to old patterns. The divine is not just changing your circumstances. The divine is transforming how you see, how you think, how you hear, and how you decide. You've been taught to ask, will this make money? The divine is teaching you to ask, is this in alignment? You've been taught to follow what's popular. The divine is teaching you to follow what's prophetic. You've been told to seek comfort. The divine is calling you to step into divine discomfort where real growth lives. Each step of obedience will feel strange at first because it doesn't resemble anything you were raised to believe. But that's the sign you're on the right track. There will be days when you feel like you're losing your mind. Days when you question everything. That's normal. You are being rewired, recalibrated, stripped of the world's logic so you can operate by spiritual intelligence. This spiritual intelligence will have you making moves that make no sense to others but perfect sense to heaven. You'll walk away from offers that look good but don't feel right. You'll say no to jobs that promise stability but rob your spirit. You'll start to trust your peace more than your paycheck. Little by little, the blueprint will start revealing itself. Not all at once, but step by step. The divine doesn't give you the full picture up front. The divine gives you instructions, nudges, confirmations, and as you obey, the path becomes clearer. It's not that the plan wasn't there. It's that your old programming was blocking your vision. Now, as you unlearn the world's noise, you're finally able to hear the divine whisper. You'll start noticing synchronicities, divine timing, conversations that confirm what you've been sensing, opportunities that don't make sense but feel perfectly right. These aren't coincidences. They're the unfolding of heaven's strategy. Because once you unlearn fear, performance, and striving, you begin to live from trust, presence, and flow. That's when you become dangerous. That's when you become unstoppable. That's when the enemy loses his grip. The world will still try to pull you back. It will call you irresponsible, unrealistic, even rebellious. But you must remember, you weren't chosen to continue cycles. You were chosen to break them. That means walking paths that others are too afraid to even imagine. It means building what's never been built, saying what's never been said, trusting a vision no one else can see. So if things feel like they're falling apart, don't panic. You are not being destroyed. You are being delivered from programming that never belonged to you, from systems that kept you small, from beliefs that kept you bound. Every part of this breaking is preparing you to hold the new, the higher, the holy. Chosen one, you are not going backwards. You're being reset. Let the world call it foolish. Let heaven call it preparation. You must unlearn what the world gave you to finally receive the blueprint, the divine designed specifically for you. And once you do, you won't just survive. You'll step into a reality where you don't chase anything. You attract everything you need because you are exactly where the divine called you to be. The world has programmed you to panic when you're not employed. They told you to get busy, send out applications, settle for something, anything, just to avoid looking like you're doing nothing. But heaven's voice is different. The divine isn't asking you to chase jobs. The divine is asking you to step into your assignment. And to do that, you need to stop hustling like everyone else and start building like the one you were called to be. Instead of job hunting, start gifting. What does that mean? It means waking up and asking, what can I create today that aligns with my purpose? How can I show up with intention and offer what's already inside me? Who can I serve, speak to, encourage, or guide? You're not unemployed. You're being redirected, not towards a company, but toward your calling. This is the moment to begin. Not when you feel ready, not when you have the perfect plan. Now, your spirit already knows what it's time to start. Maybe it's a YouTube channel. Maybe it's writing, creating, mentoring, healing, speaking, designing, building, or teaching. Whatever it is, you've been hearing whispers about it for a long time. The delay isn't because it's not real. It's because you've been taught to fear your own gift. But the divine didn't give you that gift to sit on a shelf while you beg the world for opportunities. That gift is the opportunity. And when you offer it consistently without shame, heaven will begin to position you in places you could never have reached through applications alone. People will find you. Provision will follow you. Platforms will open. Not because you chased them, but because you obeyed. Obedience is your strategy. If the divine is telling you to record a message, record it. If the divine is nudging you to offer sessions, start with what you know. If you're meant to launch something, take the first small step. You don't need to have a business plan. You need to move. Because spiritual doors don't respond to resumes. They respond to obedience. Every act of obedience creates a ripple. That ripple opens the next door. This is the season to begin. Begin without knowing the end. Begin while your voice still shakes. Begin while you're learning. Begin even when you're afraid. You are not behind. You are in position. You're not late. You're finally listening. The divine timeline is never rushed, but it's always exact. And if this word is reaching you right now, that means it's time. Instead of job hunting, build the altar. An altar is the space where your gift meets the divine breath. And whatever you do on that altar, write, speak, teach, create, heal, it will carry power because you didn't do it for attention. You did it in obedience. That kind of obedience attracts things the world can't explain. Clients, collaborations, contracts, ideas, clarity, miracles. Don't wait to be hired to be useful. You're already appointed. Don't wait for a boss to say yes when the divine already said, go. Begin with what you know. Teach what you've lived. Serve from your scars. Share what healed you. You don't need perfection. You need movement. The spiritual economy doesn't pay based on effort. It releases based on faithful obedience. So while the world hunts jobs, you build vision. While they submit resumes, you submit your will. While they chase survival, you create from a place of spiritual overflow. That's how chosen ones rise. And if your spirit is stirring right now, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. This is your moment. You don't need permission to start. You need to start to access what's been waiting on you. The real work was never out there. It was always inside you. Now, go activate it. In this season of shift and realignment, the most important voice you can hear is not the world's, it's the divine. But let's be honest, with everything pulling at your attention, hearing from the divine can sometimes feel confusing or even silent. You wonder, is that my thought, or is that the divine speaking? You second-guess what you felt in your spirit. But I need you to understand something. The divine is still speaking. The question is, are you still enough to listen? You were chosen not just to move, but to move with precision. That means you can't afford to guess your way through this season. You need divine instruction, specific direction, and you will only get that by quieting the noise that's been flooding your mind. The distractions, the comparisons, the anxiety about what's next, they create static. And static drowns out divine sound. You don't need more advice. You need more silence. You don't need louder voices. You need stillness. The divine is not hiding from you. The divine is speaking through your thoughts, your instincts, your dreams, your atmosphere. But the more chaos you allow in, the harder it is to discern the divine voice. In this season, chosen ones must become intentional about tuning their frequency. Just like a radio dial. If you're slightly off, you'll hear distortion. But when you find the right alignment, the signal becomes clear. That's how the divine speaks. Through clarity birthed in consistency. Start with solitude. Not isolation driven by pain, but sacred solitude where you invite the divine into the quiet. Set a time, even if it's just 10 minutes, to sit with no phone, no music, no distractions. Just you and the divine. This is where whispers become direction. This is where questions turn into revelation. The divine doesn't always yell. Most of the time, the divine whispers. But you'll only hear that whisper when you stop yelling over your own life with constant movement. Next, lean into Scripture. Not as a religious checklist, but as a living, breathing conversation. Sometimes the answer you're asking for has already been written. But if you never open the Word, you miss it. The divine will confirm what is being said through verses that suddenly leap off the page. When that happens, write it down. Track the divine voice. This trains your spirit to recognize the patterns of how the divine speaks to you. Pay attention to your peace. One of the most overlooked ways the divine speaks is through spiritual atmosphere. If something disturbs your peace, that's not just discomfort. It might be divine resistance. If something brings you unexplainable peace, even in uncertainty, that's often the divine saying, move forward. Peace doesn't always mean comfort. Sometimes it means clarity in the middle of chaos. Also, don't underestimate the power of dreams and repeated signs. When the divine is emphasizing something, you'll start seeing it everywhere. The same word, the same theme, the same prompting. You might hear it in a conversation, see it in a post, feel it in your gut. That's not coincidence. That's the divine confirming what is trying to get you to acknowledge. Yes, the The divine will also use people, but only when you're discerning. Not every voice is meant to guide you. Some are sent to distract you. That's why your discernment must be sharp. Chosen ones don't follow crowds. They follow the whisper, the instruction, the unshakable nudge that won't leave them alone until they respond. In this season, your clarity is your power. Your ability to hear and obey will determine how quickly and accurately you move. The divine is not going to compete with your distractions. The divine is going to wait for your surrender. The divine is going to wait for your decision to tune out the world and tune into the divine voice. When you do, the clarity will come. Not always instantly, but always perfectly timed. If this message has stirred something deep inside, it's because your spirit already knows what your mind is just beginning to understand. You've been hearing the divine all along. Now it's time to listen with intention. Let everything else fade. Let every voice be silenced until the divine voice becomes the loudest in your life. That's how chosen ones rise. Not by noise, but by clarity. Not by rushing, but by receiving. This is your moment. Don't miss it. Chosen one, if no one has ever said this to you, let me say it now with the full weight of truth and divine clarity. You are not lazy. You are being led. That heaviness you've been carrying, that battle in your mind, that feeling of being stuck while everyone else seems to be moving, it's not because you've failed. It's because you've been chosen to move differently. The divine isn't rushing you. The divine is preparing you. You were never created to follow the fast lane of this world. You were created to walk the narrow path of alignment. And yes, that path can feel slow. It can look unproductive on the surface, but what heaven is doing in you is far deeper than what people can see. You're not behind. You're being refined. And the refining season often looks like silence, stillness, confusion, and even inactivity to those who don't understand divine timing. When you stop trying to explain your process to people who don't carry your assignment, you'll find peace. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you've slowed down. You don't need validation for why you've turned inward. The divine is rebuilding you from the inside out. That's why nothing feels the same anymore. That's why you can't go back to how you used to operate. Your spirit has outgrown the systems that once sustained you. You're not stuck. You're just too awakened to go back to sleep. The world rewards hustle and productivity, but heaven rewards obedience. And obedience isn't always loud. It isn't always visible. Sometimes it looks like leaving a job, turning down an opportunity, saying no when it would have been easier to say yes, resting when your mind tells you to panic, waiting when everything in you wants to force the next move. That's not laziness. That's spiritual maturity. That's what it means to be led by the Spirit and not by survival mode. You've felt the tension of being pulled in two directions, between doing what's expected and doing what's right for your soul. That tension is proof that you are no longer operating from your flesh. You're moving from a deeper place now. And with that depth comes a greater demand for discernment. You can't afford to move fast just to please people. You must move accurately to please the divine. Let me remind you, when the divine leads you, the divine provides. Maybe not all at once, maybe not in the way you imagined, but always on time, always enough. You're not falling behind financially, emotionally, or spiritually. You're being positioned in a way that makes space for sustainable provision, not just temporary relief. What you build from obedience will last longer than anything you forced out of fear. So let go of the shame, the guilt, the pressure, the comparing. Let go of trying to prove that you're working hard enough. Heaven already knows your heart. And the divine never asked you to impress the world. The divine asked you to follow the divine voice. If that voice says rest, then rest. If it says wait, then wait. If it says move in a direction no one else understands, trust it anyway. You are not here to follow trends. You're here to set divine patterns. You are not meant to look productive to the world while starving your soul. Your stillness is not wasted time. It's the soil where clarity grows. It's the space where power is developed. When the time comes to move, you'll move with force, with certainty, with spiritual velocity. But until then, keep listening, keep aligning, keep trusting. Chosen one, this isn't just a pause. It's a setup, a sacred one. You are being led by unseen hands, guided by divine intelligence. You are being formed into someone who doesn't just work for a living, but lives for a purpose. If this word confirms what you've been feeling in the quiet, then no, you're not lost. You're just being led back home to who you really are. Walk in that truth, rest in it, and rise when the Spirit says rise. Your time is not running out. Your season is simply unfolding. Trust the process. Trust the divine hand upon your life. Trust that every moment of waiting has been preparation for something you cannot yet see, but will soon experience. You were never meant to be like everyone else. You were never designed to fit the mold. You were created to break it, to shatter expectations, to walk a path so unique that it becomes a lighthouse for others lost in the darkness. The world will continue questioning you. They'll continue offering their opinions about what you should be doing, but their voices will fade as you learn to tune more deeply into the only voice that matters. The one that called you before you were born. The one that knows your end from your beginning. The one that sees the masterpiece you're becoming, while others only see the mess of transformation. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your true chapter. The chapter where you finally stop performing for people and start operating from purpose. Where you stop seeking permission and start walking in divine permission that's already been granted. Every delay has been divine protection. Every closed door has been divine redirection. Every moment of confusion has been divine preparation for the clarity that's coming. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not behind schedule. You are exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you were always meant to become. The chosen ones are rising, not in the world's timing, but in heaven's perfect orchestration. And you, watching this right now, feeling this resonance in your spirit, you are part of that rising. Your gifts are awakening. Your purpose is clarifying. Your provision is aligning. Your season is shifting. Stop doubting what you feel. Stop questioning what you know. Stop shrinking what you carry. The world needs what's inside you. Not a watered-down version. Not a compromised version. Not a version that makes others comfortable. The world needs the full, undiluted, unapologetic expression of the divine assignment you were born to carry. So, stand up, speak up, show up, not in arrogance, but in obedience, not in pride, but in humble recognition that you were chosen for this moment, for this message, for this movement. Your life is not an accident. Your struggles were not in vain. Your journey has been preparing you for impact you cannot yet imagine. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your divine activation. Walk in it. Live it. Breathe it. Become it. You are chosen. You are called. You are covered. You are coming into everything the divine has been preparing for you. Believe it. Receive it. And watch how heaven moves on your behalf when you finally say yes to the assignment you've been carrying all along. The rise of the chosen is not coming. It's already here, and you are part of it. Welcome to your divine awakening. Welcome to your purpose. Welcome to the life you were always meant to live.